I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, can you please take the roll?
Ms. Cherry,
Present.
Dr. Connors,
Present.
Mrs. Cordino,
Here.
Mr. King,
Here.
Mr. Sheed,
Here.
Ms. Rivers, Mrs. Salgado Cowan, Ms. Smith, Ms. Stafford.
Here.
We have 7 present.
Thank you. Hereby be it known that the Piscataway Township Board of Education has complied with the notification requirements of the Open Public Meeting Acts for the announcement of this meeting date and place on April the 19th, 2024 in the following manner. Posting of the public notice on the posting board for the Board of Education in the Administration Building. Email notification to the newspapers serving Piscataway, the Home News Tribune, and the Courier News. Email notification filed with the municipal clerk at the municipal building on Holmes Lane. This meeting is being videotaped. This recording is not an official record or supplement to the minutes and is intended only as a source of information that the public might utilize at a later date to familiarize themselves with the board's activities. Executive session. Be it resolved that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of review and discussion of personnel agenda, litigation, HIV monthly reports, and other matters pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're in executive session. calling the meeting back to order. Can we reconvene the public session? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now in public session. We're going to deviate off of the agenda tonight. Dr. Ranelli is going to start us off, and then I'll take back over.
So our own Gary Miller usually leaves after the student presentation, but I wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate him. He just came back from an award ceremony where he won 4 awards for our district from the New Jersey School Public Relations Association. We believe 4 is the most in the state. He'll put a formal news thing out, but we wanted to make sure we congratulated him as soon as possible. Very lucky to have you, Gary. Thanks for being here. Thanks for
Thanks,
choosing us
Gary.
as well.
really appreciate it.
Okay, now we'll go back to following the script. Okay, this evening we have Martin Luther King School Financial Literacy Club presentation. This is an introduction for us tonight for the presentation to come to us from the Financial Literacy Club of Martin Luther King Intermediate School. The club includes over 100 4th and 5th grade students each year at MLK. In conjunction with the Junior Achievement Buzztown organization, this club provides a solid foundation of business, economics, and free enterprise education. And here is MLK Principal Andrew Cohee to tell us more.
Dr. Ranelli, President Cherry, and Piscataway Board of Education, thank you for having the MLK Penguins here tonight to present a little bit about the financial literacy program. I'm going to pass it off in a moment, but I wanted to say and kind of recount what was one of my favorite memories since I've been in Piscataway of my first year at MLK and seeing this program sort of run its course for the first time. We had, me coming in to the position of principal. I didn't really have a grasp on exactly what this program was. I knew a lot of kids were participating in it. I knew a lot of kids were very passionate, and the teachers were very passionate about what they were doing in these, over the course of the weeks of the program that they were running the club with. But it wasn't until I drove to the BizTown facility where they put on their culminating event, and the students, you're going to see them in action in our presentation in a minute, where they kind of run an entire business town, and you see a lot of the skills that they were working on leading up to this, and it just kind of just brought to my mind exactly what education is all about. The teamwork, the collaboration, the inspiration, all of those things kind of coming together to see a real-world practical application of skills. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to one of our leaders of the program, Miss Adrienne Torres.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Board of Ed, for having us here today. My name is Mrs. Torres. I am the Spanish teacher at King School. This is my 13th year teaching at King and my 5th teaching the Financial Literacy Club. It kind of fell on my lap. We started back in 2018. A teacher started the club, and then I took it over the following year. I kind of fell in love with the club because I just went to accompany the kids on the trip. I was not a teacher when I first went that first year we started it, and math is one of my favorite subjects other than Spanish, and I said, wow, this is amazing. So we said, okay, let's make it bigger. So then the next year I ran the program with Mr. Applegate, 2019-2020. If you all know 2020, COVID hit. The day of that we closed in Piscataway was the day of our field trip, March 14th. I'll never forget because that's the day my niece was born. So, it was weird because I was supposed to be at the field trip, but she was born, but we closed. So it was devastating to me because it was my first year that I was supposed to take the kids. So that happened. We did it virtually for 1 year back in 2021. Mr. Applegate and I did it. And then 2022, we created our own BizTown because they still weren't open. So we kind of bought a lot of things. The kids shopped and went around. 2023 came, and then they said, we're open again. I said, awesome, good, we're going to do it again. So myself, Mr. Applegate, Mrs. Froyo, and Mr. Kaiser are the 4 teachers that we run the program at King School. This is the 3rd year I will be taking the kids on the field trip, and it's a great thing. The kids love it. They learn about things like interest rates, which I know they probably don't care about, but it's good to know. I mean, these are things that, you know, as adults, we fall into this hole if you don't learn about these things, and I am very passionate when I teach it. A lot of the students here tonight were in my class. There are 4 classes with at least 23 kids in it. We service at least 100 kids every year, so it's one of my favorite things to do. And we made a little video to kind of showcase what they do, so, thank you. I'm going to have Mr. Applegate speak for a moment, and then I'm going to call up the students so they can tell you all about what they did as their job and what their role was in this town.
Hey, my name is Greg Applegate, and I'm also a teacher at Martin Luther King School, and I'm also one of the club instructors for the financial literacy program. As Mrs. Torres mentioned, I've been doing the club since 2019, so I've been working for several years. Last year was my second year actually going to the BizTown location. As Ms. Torres had said, the previous years it had been closed because of COVID. And I can just say from my own personal experience, watching the kids in action, it's just amazing how they get right into it. We spend all that time training them about, you know, how to work the finances, how to use a checkbook, how to run the different businesses. And once they get there, they just step into the role. They're given a notebook explaining what their tasks are, and they run the show. The adults are there kind of in the background, assisting when needed, but the students are really the ones who are actually running the businesses and, you know, actually making things go. So we're going to ask the students who are presenting to please come up.
Come over here.
And the students are now going to each give you a short little statement about their own personal experience at BizTown. So they're going to let you know a little bit about the business that they were working in and what they learned from the experience.
Thank you. All right, this is Ariana Patch. Ariana, oh my gosh, Rachel, I'm sorry. Rachel, she's gonna talk, you can stand over here, Rachel. All right, nice and loud, okay?
Hi, my name is Rachel Kinjoni, and in BizTown, I worked at Horizon Wellness. One thing that I've learned exam in someone's eyes. It was a great experience. I thought that it would be a piece of cake, but I was wrong. So many people came to our business and everybody needed help. I was getting exhausted and everyone was starting to get impatient. It was nothing on how I expected it to be. But in the end, I felt accomplished and had a wonderful time at BizTown and hope to go again.
All right, second, Uzziah Watson.
My name is Uzziah Watson, and my job at JA BizTown was a representative at Wells Fargo. When I started my job, I was a little nervous about doing something wrong. When I got to JA BizTown, there were adults to help me. I finally started getting a hang of it. Soon enough, I learned saving your money is sometimes better than spending it all in one place. My job was to sort out the money in the vault. I had to fill forms, and that was fun. It felt like I was in a real job. It helped me experience what you might face in the future. Things they taught us will really come in handy.
This is Juliana.
Hi, I'm Juliana Bohorquez. I worked as a team member at Chick-fil-A. I really enjoyed working at Chick-fil-A because I learned how to attract customers. I also learned how to work as a team to accomplish our tasks for that day. I could use all these skills in the future. Financial literacy was a great experience. I enjoyed the club so much. Thank you for your time. Hello, my name is Kayla. I really enjoyed working at UPS because my friends worked there too, and I was stock manager. Stock manager was a good job, and so my type. I loved it. Thank you.
Jonas.
When I started my job at JA BizTown was a teller at Citizens Bank. As a teller, I was responsible for giving money to people who went to Citizens Bank on their break shift. During the first half of the trip, I helped people deposit their money and I gave $2 to everyone who visited the bank. During the second half of the trip, people came to the bank to make withdrawals and I gave them their money. I learned that working at a bank can be stressful. When I first thought about it, it sounded like it would be easy. When you really try it, it's actually pretty hard. I had a great time because I loved interacting with friends and I got to try out a real world job for a day.
Aaron.
Hi, my name is Aaron Santiago. What I did in financial literacy is learn how to manage my money, how taxes work, and how to use cards to take money out of the bank. At the end of the club, we went to JA BizTown where I worked at You Design It as a graphic designer. At You Design It, our motto was You Design It, we make it. We would make posters for your business where you would tell us what you want on it and we would make it on a piece of paper. Every 30 minutes, you would get called by the color lanyard you got. When they would call you, you would get a check and have to cash it out at the bank, where they give you money so you could buy toys or advertisements at some places. You can go to different places if you want to buy a toy, where they would charge you an amount of money and you would have to pay them. There was a raffle ticket that you could buy, and at the end they would call the winning numbers, and whoever won got all the toys they had there. Working at You Design It helped me learn how to use my creativity in my job and value the money I earned from my hard work. I love JA BizTown and would be honored to sign up again this year.
Shivam.
Hello, my name is Shivam Shukla. I would like to say what I learned from the Financial Literacy Club. My job at the JA BizTown was a logistics engineer at Phillips 66. I learned that the company manufactures gas. My favorite part of the job was delivering the types of gas to different companies. What I learned from the job was you have to deliver the right amount of gas in the correct type. Overall, I feel like the Financial Literacy Club was a fun and educational club throughout the year. I learned a bunch of valuable stuff that I should keep in my mind for the future. That is why I enjoyed the Financial Literacy Club.
Ariana.
Working at Horizon Wellness Center as a receptionist helped me learn how to help people and get them started and help give a service for clients. It was fun handling my own money and working because it was an experience where we could become adults for the day and learn how life with a job works. JA BizTown also gave me a chance to learn how to spend, save money, and sell things. In conclusion, I think JA BizTown is a great opportunity to to learn what having your own money to spend and save however you want and how to work in a job. I think JA Biztown prepares kids for when they're older, when they get a job, and how to handle money.
Last, Zuri.
Hi, my name is Zuri Alexis, and my position was the CFO of Phillips 66. My job was fun and educational because I got to have hands-on experience paying rent, printing checks, and helping run a business. It was also very fun because I learned skills that I can use in life, such as making decisions and taking risks. Thank you all for your time.
Well, I don't think I can top what we just heard from our incredible MLK Financial Literacy Club members. I have to tell you, I'm beyond impressed because you've learned how to work, save your money, spend it, and know that you can get tired from working. So now, guess what? I am so proud of all of you, but most importantly, you came here. You were able to stand in front of us, give a presentation to give us an idea of what you experienced that day, and you have those memories for life, but most importantly, you're learning how to control money, not let money control you. And I heard about the savings and not spending it all at one time, and I applaud you for that. So now I'm going to come forward along with Mr. Andrew, and we're going to be presenting certificates to each one of you for coming here this evening from the Board of Education, for giving us an idea of just some of the stuff that's going over there across town that we don't know anything about because we're all at our jobs and we're kind of bored too, but we still have to go there every day.
Now you're qualified to be on now you're qualified to be on the Fiscal Plannings and Operations Committee of the Board of Education.
You do not want to come join Dr. Connors. Dr. Connors will have you at that meeting all night and you'll have
All right, Zuri Alexis. Rachel Amin. Yeah, come up. We'll stay up here for a picture. Juliana Bohorka. Ariana Kapp. Kayla Parlikowski. Aaron Santiago. Shivam Shukla. Jonas Sterlaki. Uzziah Watson. You want to come up here and get in the picture then?
Miss Applegate.
Come up here and get the picture.
Can you guys come up here?
While they're taking a picture, I want to say thank you to all the parents for giving us your most prized possessions and all the staff members who came here tonight. We really appreciate that support. So you guys are fantastic.
Can we squeeze in a little bit?
They want to squeeze it.
You're gonna come this way. You're gonna come forward. You're gonna come. Good, Gary? Or you need closer? A little bit closer. Okay, you got to squeeze over to the left.
They want to come behind.
Yeah, was there Mr. Milling, is award winning?
Award winner.
The adults go that way. All right, everybody smile. Okay, great job, thank you.
Parents, thank you again. Thank you so much for stopping what you were doing at home and bringing them here tonight, but to be able to see them, to come and talk about what they've done. And by the way, where is Buzztown located? It's a buzz at Biztown. Keep up the great work. Courtney, I'm gonna talk for the next 20 minutes.
Go for it.
about life, money, 100 kids. Yeah,
Now
100
like
kids.
that.
Just an
The
understanding.
knowledge, the understanding of a dollar bill.
For the old school USB, like the charger iPhone? Yes. You need one?
Dealing with people. That's the key right there. Dealing with people, that's the key right there.
After school, right?
But he was excited about it.
It's good though, that was good.
He was like, well, I need to apply for a job, I have to go give an interview, and you know, like the whole.
He had the whole thing, huh?
And he's like, oh no, I can do a tax return.
Yes,
you can.
Sure you can. JP Morgan. Hope you can get me some money back.
I saw reports that we might be able to carry some shift in something.
I mean, is he still interested? He's still interested.
Now he works in finance.
Wow, kidding,
And
that's
he's
great.
hours in the school, but it's like something.
not as much
like
like
yeah,
The talent of the much is that I enjoy being.
That is something, right?
That is really
But
nice.
this is a location that they go to.
It's a location, but it's, they do it every week after school throughout the year, and at the end of the year, they do it one day.
Oh,
But
okay.
they're building it out during
All
the
right.
whole.
Congratulations again, Gary.
Yeah, really.
But a nice activity. Practical for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think we're okay. Because, yeah, if you're not gonna deviate, right? Nope. That's fine. Yeah, just tell Glenn.
I just lost time. Out of respect to you two student representatives, we'll wait for Dr. Connors to return. Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, student representatives report. Tyler? Good evening, and thank you for being here this evening. So Tyler, I know you always start first because you're the junior.
Oh.
Good evening, everybody. Hello. So, month has passed since the start of the school year. Everybody's getting settled in nicely. All the clubs have started, and coming up this month, actually, next week, we have our Spirit Week, which is, everybody dresses up. I think Monday we're having the people dress up, freshmen dress up as babies, sophomores is regular teenagers, juniors as adults, and then the dress up as like grandparents or whatever.
That's cute.
And then at the end of the week, we have our pep rally with a bunch of games. All the students come out. We have a little bit of fun, take some time away from the actual school part of it. And then the following Saturday of that, we have our homecoming coming up, which should be a great time. And then what we just had was our PSATs. So our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders took that. And from talking to all the students, it seems to have went well this year. So hopefully when we get those scores back, everybody's happy with their scores. And then over the past month, just to do a little recap on the sports, our football team, actually, who's playing against East Brunswick right now, they're 4-2 on the season. They're looking good for the playoffs. And our soccer team went 6-1-1 over their regular season. And they are in the GMCs right now in group play, and they have state games in November. So hopefully, when I come back here next month, I can give you guys some good news on our sports teams too. That's a little recap of the.
Thank you, Tyler, so
Tyler.
much.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having us. Just a heads up, my voice is gone, so I just want to give you a warning. But I'm so happy to be here, so I hope you all are having a great week. So there are some things that are just starting. Clubs are starting up. One of the biggest things of October is Halloween. So we have our Haunted High that FBLA hosts every year, which is a huge event here at the high school. So all the clubs were preparing for that. I know FBLA is trying to work around with all the clubs and get operations set up. All the honor societies are getting involved as well. They also had their huge meeting a couple weeks ago, and it was SNHS, so Science National Honor Society, National English Honor Society, Math Honor Society, which is new, which has been really exciting because I know a lot of people have been interested in that. Social Studies Honor Society, and it was just a kickoff meeting. So that went very, very well. Miss Pritchard, she talked about ways to deal with stress and studying. I was at the meeting and I thought it was really informative. I thought it was really nice. So that was a really good thing about that. Like I mentioned, clubs are starting up. So on October 22nd to 23rd, we have our club fair, which is a huge hit at the high school as well. And it's during the gym periods at school. So the freshmen come to the Patton Gym, and all these clubs are out there talking, promoting what they want. It's like a little marketing moment, speaking of the business that we just had. So it's really exciting. I love it. So I'm really excited about that, to recruit more freshmen and sophomores and underclassmen. You learn a lot. Going back to the honor societies, I know Science National Honor Society is having a meeting on Monday with a guest speaker who's actually a professor, and she's talking about neuroscience and cell bio, which is really interesting, so that should be good. We actually had our first SAD meeting today, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions, which is a club Miss Benjamin and I have started this year. So a lot of new clubs, new meetings. Tyler was there too, and I think it went very well, and it was really exciting. So a lot of new clubs, a lot of new opportunities for students, a lot of college applications as well. I know the seniors, he mentioned PSATs. I had a field trip that day for Safety Ambassadors, which also kicked off, so that was really good. We went to the banquet, which is the opening ceremony of the year, and we learned just about the topics that we present throughout the year. Just to recap, Safety Ambassadors is the program where you go to the elementary, we go to Eisenhower, and we talk about ways to be safe and give presentations. So that started this year, which was really good. It's also different being the senior up there, so that was also new. So overall, so far the month has been really well, and we're looking forward to all the new clubs and exciting stuff going on.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys bringing back the informative information that's going on up at PHS. Because there's so much going on up there, we couldn't keep up with it if we wanted to, so we appreciate your little snippets that you bring back to us. I know you have school tomorrow, so we know at this time you're always free to go. We thank you for coming out again, and get home safe if you decide to leave.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again.
No, and thanks for all the clubs, because in terms of inviting people back, like having a professor back in one of those clubs is really great.
Okay, next on the agenda is going to be the President's Report. We are very proud to announce that the Piscataway High School has been recognized with 2 distinguished awards by the College Board for its outstanding efforts in expanding access to AP courses. PHS has earned a bronze status on the AP School Honor Roll for welcoming more students into advanced placement courses and setting them on the path to college success. In the 3 merits for the award, PHS earned gold status for college credit, which rates the percentage of students in the graduating class who scored 3 or higher on an AP exam. Furthermore, we are particularly proud that the PHS has earned the Access Award, which is given to schools that allow all students to access the AP courses, including students from underrepresented populations. These accomplishments were made possible through the ongoing collaborations of the high school administration, counseling department, and the district department of Diverse, Equity, and Inclusion. Congratulations to everyone on these amazing honors. Thank you to our high school students who have been volunteering their time on the weekends to clean up our community parks. The National Honor Society started on September 14th at Cobletown Park, then got an even bigger turnout the following week, and they were able to clean up Possumtown, Ivytown, Widewind, and Riverside Park. All told, they hauled away nearly 140 pounds of trash. Then just this past weekend, the Future Business Leaders of America held their annual Johnson Park cleanup, picking up over 100 pounds of trash around the Raritan River and East Coast Greenway. Great job by our community-minded and service-oriented students. In addition to that, in my report tonight, on September the 21st, the National Council of Negro Women Greater Elizabeth Area had their 18th annual Harambe Breakfast of 2024. At that meeting, Dr. Baskerville was honored and presented with a Professional Education Leadership Award for all of his years in education and for all that he does for students since he's been in education. I have the magazine brochure with me tonight if you would like to read about it. It gives you a snippet of where he started and all the things that he's done over the years in education for all students, not just one in particular. And I couldn't be more honored than to have been sitting in the audience to watch that award be presented to Dr. B. I just want to tell you again, congratulations. Piscataway's super proud of you, and we're glad that we have you. That concludes my president's report. Dr. Vanelli, superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. As usual, please check out our superintendent report on our website under the Superintendent's Corner. This month, highlights include articles on our cultural diversity, a lot of staff accomplishments, our wonderful volunteerism from our kids, athletic updates, and of course, our Super Chief Band Festival, which hosted 15 bands this past Saturday night. So when you get a chance, check that out. Special thanks to a bunch of groups. Number 1, the Piscataway Elks. Number 2, Kimberly Lane and the Piscataway Public Relations Advisory Board. Number 3, the Junior Achievement of New Jersey. And number 4, Assembly Joe Danielson for donating backpacks and school supplies for our students. We received almost 200 backpacks and enough school supplies for every bag. So we really appreciate them thinking of us. They'll be put to good use, and we can't thank them enough for their generosity. And lastly, before I turn my report over to Dr. Baskerville, the Niche.com report came out a week ago, and we got a hold of the report today. Now, Niche.com is a tool that people look online to sort of judge if they are looking to for a place to live, or comparing one school district over another, or town over another, things like that. And Mr. Miller helped me write something up here. I'm incredibly proud to announce that Piscataway Township Schools has once again been selected by Niche.com as one of the best school districts in New Jersey for 2025, rising in the rankings in several areas from our 2024 rankings. We got an overall grade of an A-, achieving an A+ in the areas of college preparation and diversity. Our overall ranking for districts in New Jersey rose from number 74 to number 69, and we rose from number 8 to number 7 in Middlesex County. As diversity is a point of pride in our district and a valuable asset to the culture and climate of our schools, I'm especially proud that our ranking among the most diverse districts in New Jersey rose from number 13 to number 11, and that's our entire district. Several of our individual schools are again among the top-ranked schools for diversity in New Jersey. Eisenhower Elementary School once again ranked number 1 in the most diverse elementary schools in the state, followed by Arbor at number 4, Grandview at number 8, and Randolphville at number 22. Piscataway High School was ranked number 2, the second most diverse high school in the state, and all of our middle schools were in the top 25, with Shore being number 2 and Quibbletown being number 3. Niche ranks nearly 100,000 schools and districts across the country based on statistics and millions of opinions from students and parents. It's one of the leading web resources for finding information about towns, school districts, colleges, and communities. So we're really proud of all the work, number 1, that you all do in setting the tone and the course and the culture. All of our administrators, we really are happy that we could boast these accomplishments. Now I'd like to turn my report over to Dr. Baskerville, who will talk about the NJSLA and the access reports, which you received on your desk.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see all of you again on tonight. Before we get started, I want to say we want to thank everyone because we are on an upward trajectory regarding our academic programs. Of course, we thank the parents for what they do, thank all the administration, everyone, the board itself. But we also want to give a special shout out to our teachers who find a way to make it happen. And so they know how to reach our students. So we really want to thank them as well. We're going to dive this right in. I want to start with the first slide is the K-12 ELL proficiency levels. We have them listed there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 from entering to bridging, along with the descriptors right there beside them, denoting what exactly each one of those categories mean. And when you take the access test, students fall within one of these 6 categories. As you can see, it takes a 4.5 to exit the program. And in order for you to exit ESL, you need to make at least a 4.5 along with recommendations and so forth, corroborating evidence from the teachers as well. Our proficiency levels are on the next page. Entering into this year, according to access testing and all the students we screened on last year, 8% of our students fell into entering, 16 emerging, 47% developing, 25% expanding, 2% bridging, and 0% reaching, which is the highest level. Of course, if they were on that level, they would not actually be into the program. So that's why you see really a 0 there. And of course, you have to be somewhere between expanding and bridging, that 4.5, to be able to exit the ESL program. The next page shows our numbers. In 2023-24, our highest number of MLs was 651. As of today, our number is 675. So we're at 675 today.
That's the number of students that we have in our district.
Right now, yes, sir. 675 is today. 647 in 2023-24 took the access test in the spring of 24. Of the 647, 81 achieved a 4.5 or higher. Our exit rate is basically on par with that of the state. So we're not sub the state, or we're not exceedingly over, but we're right on average with where the state also exit our kids. And just another note today, we have 374 kids, MLs, in grades 1 through 5. So that's 374. More than half of those students reside in grades 1 through 5. And that's also, I'm going to bring that up, where we had to get a waiver for because of the numbers at that level. Gender, we see 296 females, 351 males. The state requires that we report the information out to you regarding the numbers of how many students we have and all of the subgroup demographics. The ethnic groups, the largest demographic group is Hispanic Latino, with 47.6% of our Ls are Hispanic Latino, followed by Asian at 42. And it's interesting to see that our Hispanic Latino demographic is 47.6%, whereas their overall demographic in the district is 23.3. So you see that is the largest number of multilingual learners that we have in our district, and Asians encompass 33.6%. On the next slide, you can just see a visual of that. So you can see we broke it down so you can actually see just the same thing from the preceding slide. You'll see what those percentages are. Which takes me to the bilingual waiver. The state requires that we offer a bilingual education. Bilingual education law says that we are required to offer a full-time bilingual education program when enrolled in 20 or more ELs in a single language group. So in other words, we look up here, we see language groups. We have 6 language groups with over 20 kids in them. So you see our largest group, Spanish, with 306 kids, Gujarati 87, Arabic 35, Urdu 37, Hindi 21, and Korean 22. So all of those are over 20. So in other words, the state is saying you have to offer a full-time bilingual program when you have students in that demographic group at over 20, unless that we can have a age range that inhibits that, grade span across the district that would prohibit that, and of course geographical locations where the kids are spread out all over the district. And it renders it impractical to try to actually get that done. So what we have is we have to apply annually for a bilingual waiver because of our numbers. We got a conditional waiver for this year because of the number of Hispanic students that we had in grade 3 at Eisenhower, primarily, and grade 4 at Arbor School. So because of grade 3 and grade 4, we were given a conditional waiver, and we have this year to actually be able to figure out what kind of way to just give the state, and they're working with us along the way to see what we can do to offer and to remedy that particular situation.
Just to give you a little heads up, when the numbers of MLs have grown exponentially since I was even in Dr. B seed, and before that, I've been here 11 years, and it's, more than quadrupled. So the waivers are, now we have a conditional one, the waivers are getting harder and harder to come by because our numbers are growing so quickly.
So my question was it's a waiver because, according to the state, they should be getting education in their native language?
Yes.
That's what the waiver's for?
But they give us the waiver because
They're spread out and they're not all in one place,
because
I
we
understand.
meet the
But
criteria.
that's what we need a waiver for, that they're
Yes.
not being taught in their native language, which is.
Yes.
Right, and Dr. B and his cohort of TESOL students,
Yes.
teachers did a nice job of getting more skilled people and certified people around the district to be able to do that.
That must be very difficult.
Yeah.
It is. And one of the things we successfully had a program, an ESL cohort, But now we're getting ready to take some of the ESL cohort teachers that we had to actually send them back for an additional coursework to get the bilingual certificate as well. So they're working with us along the way, and we're looking at certain things called a temporary or part-time bilingual approach. And so there are many different ways we can actually settle this and get this
Part
done.
of the day,
Yes.
and then you
And so-
share
Yes.
services.
Yes.
And just so you know, we appreciate your support, because the things that we do, sometimes we ask for your approval and finances and things like that, like getting these teachers certified, so we appreciate that support.
Where is the least number of teachers that do the multilingual? In other words, what subject is the?
So it's two ways that we actually satisfy that. We have what we call a sheltered instruction. That takes place, sheltered instruction is K through 5. And this is what we use. We use ESL endorsed teachers to do the sheltered and the high intensity. So we find that a lot of the students fall within the sheltered instruction. They have to get 30 minutes of ESL per day by a trained person who has an ESL endorsement. So they do that. High intensity means they have to have 2 periods of ESL per day. That's from 6 to 12. Scheduling is more difficult from 6 to 12 to actually get that done if you don't have enough teachers to actually do that. But we're able to get that done. But it's like running into class sizes. Then when you schedule those kids into the classes, you have to make sure that you don't have more than like 8 or 9, I think it's 10. When you start moving too many kids,
Into one class.
then
your
becomes,
numbers, your ratio.
the ratio becomes too high. So we have to make sure that we take care of those things as well.
Sheltered instruction is sort of, where teachers are trained.
PSYOP.
Yeah, to do accommodations.
Next page, we go into science. We want to say that, first of all, science is a little difficult, and we're waiting for the state to actually, well, just if I can be frank, just do it a little better. Because what happens is that science is tested grades 5, 8, and 11, but it's tested across a 3-grade span. So grade 5 is tested from 3 to 5, grade 8 is 6 to 8, and then, of course, we have it in 11th grade. One of the things that I really want to stress is that we do not get evidence statements back from science testing. So we get evidence statements for math and ELA going in and showing us where the students, we don't get any type of report for that, for science, and so that makes it more difficult. If you look at where we are in science, last year for grade 5, you see that highlighted. The state was at 27%, we were at 36% proficient. You see that in the little highlight. But this year we fell 30.5%. So we fell this year. But we want to make sure that we mention also that even though we fell in the proficiency rate, science only has 4 proficiency levels, while ELA and math has 5. So if we actually moved in level 2, but level 2 is not actually moves toward proficiency, so we actually got better in level 2. So I just want to bring that up. We have a integrated science model that's really beginning to help us with that, and so we're getting much better. Also, we found an anomaly this year that happened across the board in our 5th grade. We had a dip in 5th grade in ELA, math, and science. So we saw a dip, and we were looking at some of the things that, before I even go any further with that, so what we did, we actually, with the curriculum writing, we went in and we changed the scope and sequence of the curriculum so that certain things happen sooner. So we have more time to spend trying to remediate a lot of things that happen in grade 5. So I want to bring that up. Grade 8. Dr. Connors, you would be happy to know that our students did well on grade 8 in the questions on the NJSLA that actually dealt with physical science, with physics and chemistry. They seem to be doing quite well with that. Last year, the state was 18%, we were 17%. This year, we are 18.3. One of the big things that we want to look at is that even though we kind of fell a little, and it was, our number got larger than it was last year in level 3. So we're getting closer to.
That was my question.
Yes, we're moving from left to right. We're going
That
up.
was my question. I mean, how rare is it to find a teacher that can teach science in multi-language?
Rare.
Brutal rare.
That was my point.
It's not about science teacher.
Yeah.
Next page, you see science, grade 11. One of the things that we see is that for some reason, at the high school, the females began to excel in science for some reason at the high school. So this year, for example, the female proficiency rate at 3 Ohio was 37.2%. Last year was 25%. So it seems to be moving forward. The females, they're taking more interest in science at the middle school and moving into the high school. Also, our males got better at the high school as well. So you can see that they're like right on the tail of the females. Last year, they were like at 23%, and they actually moved to 36%. So we see that we're gaining in science there. But one thing that we're really proud of is if you look down, and one of our goals, of course, is moving our multilingual learners and our SPED students and moving them up. If you see down our current multilingual learners, last year they were 18.2% at level 2. This year they're 46.7%. So you see we're moving from left to right. We're going up the band of proficiency. If we look at ELA and achievement, I think we really wanted to show, and Dr. Ranella and I, we spoke about this in grade lift, we really wanted to show a story here. So we did a 5-year comparison so you could actually see 2017 up to 2023. You see 17 and 18 prior to COVID-19. So you go all the way over to the right, median plus exceeding highest 2 levels. You will see that at our apex prior, we were at 60% in ELA for 2017 for grade 3. In 2018, we dipped. We went down 3%. COVID came, and we were out for 2 years. We came back. We had went from 57 down to 45 the first year back from COVID. Then you notice we have started climbing again. We went to 48. Then we went to 54. And we can see that we are, another thing that tells the story is that the percentage of approaching is growing as well as we move. Our continuous narrative is going from left to right of the continuum, going from not meeting to partial, moving to approaching, eventually getting to meeting and exceeding. I also want to bring your attention down to grade 5. There again, you see we dipped, that's 7%. We went from 61 down to 54. And again, we made those adjustments. We were well aware of that. And we're looking at the things that we're doing to make sure that, you know, we are, as a matter of fact, I had a meeting today with the supervisors and they met with the principals and we're like all on top of that. So I just want to let you know in those subjects, we have a very big hand on that.
And they give you the samples of, right?
Yes.
So you have
Yes.
an
And
idea
then,
to
yes,
see.
absolutely. They're released items and we're looking at the release, absolutely. Next page, we see the high school, ELA. One of the things that we're learning at the high school that we've known for quite some time, but we're beginning to do something. I want to just give a shout out to Ms. Janine Albanese for she's doing a great job with that. And that is reading comprehension at the high school, because many times reading comprehension is a focus from in elementary school, in 4 or 5, and it starts falling off in 6 through 8. That old adage where when you're young, you learn to read, and as you get older, you read to learn. By the time we get to high school, there's been a falling off when you start reading novels and you start reading the canon and so forth, and reading comprehension is not so much. But we have found that, and thanks to Mr. Scott Hood as well, that we have to actually put some focus on reading comprehension. So if you see, we came down on 23-24, you'll see 59% in ELA, which was beyond our original pandemic number of 49%. So we've come back at the in grade 9 at the high school from actually 49% prior to the pandemic to actually 59%, and we've made huge steps. We've been climbing the ladder ever since we've been back.
And I'd just like to add, reading seems to be a more difficult task for young kids in general. Just in general. People don't read for enjoyment anymore, and it's very, you know, with all the other distractions and social media and really, it's a lifelong skill. You can't go from one year to another. It's very difficult to do that.
And there's a lot of research research is always ever growing regarding, I know he's curriculum committee, regarding how students learn to read. And so we have been doing some things in our curriculum committee and within our teachers and professional development and so forth around the science of reading, how we connect brain research and brain knowledge and how students learn. So we'll be giving more information about that.
Yeah. Spelling.
The next page of NJSLA, if we look here, I just highlighted some things to kind of help guide the conversation. You see grade 3, Change in levels 4 and 5, from 23 to 24, we were up 5.9%. We actually went up 5.9, and you can see a good example highlighted there. You see in level 5, we went from 7.8 to 8.4, and you can see over in level 4, we went from 39 to 45. So when you combine those two numbers, you can see where we grew there. And if you just come straight down, if you look at grade 4, look at where they were in level 5 and to 23, and look how they went from 18.5 to 24. You can look at grade 5, how it went from 15 to 16. Even though it went down, when you put the two numbers together, they still had some growth there. And so all the way down here, you can just see big and huge leaps and how we're at least moving the needles within certain places.
So we wanted to make sure in this slide, we fully understand what this means. And I know Dr. B is talking about level 5, which is really important for us. So these are the same kids. A lot of times we do comparisons of grades. Well, some kids did last year's grade 3 versus this year's grade 3 versus 2 years ago grade 3. These are the same kids and how they've grown, which is really important to us, how they do from year to year.
Yeah.
Not just in 3rd grade all the time. It's just more, because those kids are different. They have a different base. So we thought this slide is probably the most important for us, for understanding how kids are doing as they grow.
A dumb question, but the assessment is done once a year?
Yes.
And what's the lag in getting the results?
Normally it takes we get the results, we get some preliminary results in about 3 months, 2 to 3 months. And just to echo Dr. Rinelli's concern, putting this report together, we could have done non-cohort and cohort. So cohort means it's the same students traveling across the grade band. Non-cohort is changes. Next page, you can just see again, English language arts, page 14. You can look at the highlight, look at the gains there from 4 and 5, plus 5.9, plus 2.4, plus 2.1, plus 6.7. So you see the gains that are taking place. And we're very proud of all of the progress that we're making there. On the next slide, you can see subgroup race ELA. We want to start with our Asian population. You can see that our Asian population went in level 5 again. And when we look at proficiency, we combine levels 4 and level 5. So,
Not to have
Yeah.
you understood. The multi-language learners are not desegregated on this NJSLA, correct?
Yes,
They're
no.
not one of our segregated categories.
yes, they are,
Not on this page.
Not on this page. Okay,
but we have data on them.
okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
Your thought.
We literally could get into this, and
Yeah, we can go way down.
Yeah.
Courtney, we can go all night if we go way down.
Yeah. We started out with how many? 140 slides?
Yeah.
And he went,
Appreciate you knocking that down.
and he went, no. Yeah, okay, so.
But what are they gonna get on their SAT scores? Did you predict that?
It's funny because, we talk about that and these tests.
No, I mean, yeah.
I say it every year when we have this presentation. When I was in Dr. B's spot and here,
Yeah.
we put these in perspective,
Yep.
right? A lot of these kids are taking these and they don't see the benefit of these, right? Where they see the benefit of their SATs, right? If you look at this niche report, it'll talk about our SAT average being in the 1200s.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it doesn't really correlate. You can't really
Yeah.
predict because of how serious or not serious they're taking this test. What I will say, and I know Dr. B might talk about at the end of this, is all of our schools have developed a data team under Dr. B's tutelage here, and they'll be looking at all of this and really trying to break down a lot more than what we're
I
doing
think
here.
that's
but to
important
say-
at the school level.
At the
and
school
then-
level, yep, to make sure we're kind of doing it the same way, and then we'll be able to compare within our district, and so I think that's a big
And then
key.
sharing out like
Yep.
across. grade
Yeah, but
levels.
again, our kids are way more than these data points.
For
So
sure,
we
for sure.
really
Listen,
want
for
to try
sure.
to make sure we take care of them and who they are as people, so. Bill, sorry to interrupt.
Let's get them.
I started it.
It's okay.
So if you see on page 15, look at all the yellow. It's just easy to see instead of me going down each line. So you can just see how well we're doing on that right side, how we're just going up with our subgroups and our race, with our Asian population, our black population, our Hispanic, our multi-ethnic groups. We're just improving. in all grade bands, in elementary school, middle school, and high school. So we see we're getting better. We're really, really getting there. Page 15, same thing. Go all the way over, and this is subgroups again. We're looking at the subgroups for ELA language arts. Look at that again. So we just see females. We're doing it by gender here. So we see how the females are doing, how the males are doing. We see some in blue, in yellow, and then we have something in like a green. But the ones in green show that we are holding steady. So if you see that we're holding steady at 5, so we're not going down. And we're picking up a little bit over in level 4. So that's another way that we see that we're moving forward, because our goal is to increase the level 3s and level 4s. We focus on the level 3s a lot. That way we know we can move them. We can get them to the 4s. Page 17, math, the same thing. We look at these students and we see how they are. This is what they call a cohort group, so you see how they're doing. Before the pandemic in math, you can see that they were at 61%, 68. Then the bottom fell out with COVID, and we went from 68. We dropped 21 points and went down to 47. Came back at 47 and 47 again, and now we're at 52. So you see we're out of the red. We're beginning to climb again. So we're doing real good in grade 3. And so you can see the similar thing happening in grade 4, happening in the other grades, where you can see how we are like really picking up. And whenever we have growth, we're having some good growth. And so we're having good growth in those areas. Page 18 is just a continuation of that. We see what happened to us. Look where we were with Algebra 1. I also want to say that sometimes our Math 8 scores, the reason why our Math 8 scores sometimes go down is because we're pushing kids. Fewer kids are taking Math 8, and more of them are taking them algebra. Mm-hmm. So what's happening is that stronger students are moving out of Math 8 and they're in algebra.
Assessed on that, they're taking the algebra
They're
assessment.
taking algebra assessment. That's why we see the numbers growing there and falling in Math 8.
How do you explain the next number in geometry from 73% down to 37% over a 5-year period in exceeding?
Another thing with the geometry was the number of kids.
Number of kids?
Yes.
Yeah,
so when we look at
down to 27.
When we look at the number,
okay,
it's the number.
It's the number of kids.
Yes.
When you're dealing with such a small number too?
Yeah, because geometry was always the thing where, when we were pushing Algebra 1 8th grade, and the accelerated kids and some of the kids even in 8th grade were taking geometry, but it's a very small number.
Yep.
And on page 19, again, you see the mathematics. I just said instead of just going down and just a similar thing, and you can of course just have this and just read it at your leisure, but we can see how we are just improving. You'll see plus, 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 plus going down the columns. You can see where we're actually growing. And we move to page 20. That's a good visual where you can actually see, again, level 1 and 2, level 1 and 2. So you can just see how, for example, Algebra 1, you see that, how we went up to 4.3, and because the kids are moving out of, in that Algebra 1 middle school, the kids are leaving Math 8 and taking that algebra, and those are the kids who are doing better proficiency in mathematics.
And on geometry, it's like Euclidean me?
Yes. On page 21, you could see a lot of movement, and we pride ourselves in moving kids, like I said, from 3 to 4. You see a lot of movement in middle school, and that's the particular reason to try to tackle the algebra and the geometry problem by moving those kids in mathematics in middle school. That's where we need to move them at. So you can see the Asian population went from 49 to 56 in level 4. So we need to just continue to move from 19 to 23, from 17 to 21, and look at multiple races from 18 to 32. So that's where we're moving, using targeted interventions, tier 2, tier 1, right there to get those kids where they need to be. We think our support specialists for the work that they do with our kids. And the last page is always, we just list some of the interventions that we use in the district. and the state is always happy to see us include this because they actually tell us to. And so you see the interventions here that we use. On the last page, on page 23, we're focusing this year on what you see in red. So we have Math 180 that we were using. We really like Math 180 because it's an adaptive intervention that goes along with, dovetails well with the Go Math. So what Math 180 does is a teacher can actually put a child on a plan based upon, we're getting ready to move to do some map testing, but the teachers can actually go in and put them on a plan, and it becomes adaptive, and the student can grow based upon the work that they're doing. So Math 180 is working well. Tiered interventions, we are really beginning to push out our tiered interventions because that's exactly where it's at, not only for academic but for social emotional learning. We're looking at doing screeners, for MTSS screeners that we have not even done before, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let's just say we're getting a lot of new screeners there that we have there. We're using a COGAT screener. We're using that for in our attempt to make sure that we have multiple language learners and SPED students in G&T classes. So we will be using the COGAT screener. So let's say if a kid is on the cusp academically or he may be falling short, then we can give him a COGAT. And if he passes the COGAT or he does well on the COGAT, then we can enter that child into G&T. So we're looking at that. And we have math labs, Algebra 1 and geometry for freshmen and sophomores.
An idea. I mean, we always offer like summer academies for the AP. These kids take these courses to prepare them because it's a shortened. Maybe we should be targeting those grade levels. We saw like a drop and offering some sort of like summer enrichment for targeting some of those, like, it seems to be like the 5th grade.
Yeah, we have the jump ahead that we
Yeah,
invite the kids to.
Maybe we should look at it more carefully, maybe look at this
Well,
data.
I think, again, maybe, right, looking at the data and having more pointed towards.
Yeah, to see, like, so we can
We
target.
can talk about that, Bill.
Yeah, just something to think about.
Yeah,
If we can look at some of this data and maybe target some of those, these at-risk, where maybe some extra, we can start bridging some of that gap. So
Yeah.
next year, we're a little bit more, prepared.
Yeah, we will be starting this month with the tutorial programs at each school, and they're targeting this data as well to pick up on areas where we fell short.
But somewhat related, Dr. B, how do you feel about the state school board lowering the graduation requirement to only getting past Algebra 1?
Well,
To what? I didn't hear you, Tom.
Algebra 1.
Well, according to them, it's the quote-unquote the gatekeeper. So Algebra 1 is like the gatekeeper into success. So that's why they're focusing on Algebra 1 as passing the Algebra 1, because there's some research that ties success in Algebra 1 to post-secondary success. So that's why Algebra 1 seems to be the target of where people want to take.
Does it
mathematics.
increase our graduation rates?
Well, a lot of things.
It's, our graduation rates are pretty high.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about school one way or another.
Okay.
I think it's important to look at, the functional math you need to be successful moving forward.
Yeah, so you all, and we as a district really took a nice hard stand on offering as much as we can to college-bound learners, non-college-bound learners, the whole gamut of our learners. So I think it's really important that we continue to do that, right? And we continue to give the kids the tools, the basic tools they need to be able to be successful. And they'll know early on, and Sarah and I were just talking about, her own child, right? They'll know early on what path they want and what classes that we have. And we have the levels that every child will need to go anywhere he needs to. So I think that's really important for us.
And the rigor in our classrooms, the rigor is there. And so we find that our children are learning how to analyze. They're moving to the higher order skills. They're learning how to think. And so they're really doing very well.
Dr. B, thank you.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Personnel and Labor Relations, Mr. King.
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through K be approved as presented.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, can you take the roll?
Mrs. Cordino?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Sheed?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Committee reports, they're lengthy, we have a couple of them, but let's rock and roll. Curriculum. The Curriculum Committee met on Monday, October the 7th, 2024, to discuss NJSLA, gifted and talented, and science updates and more. NJSLA, Dr. Baskerville. Individual score reports for the New Jersey Student Learning Assessments were mailed to families on October the 4th. Dr. Baskerville will be making a student achievement report at the October 10th board meeting, which we just received, and it will show the progress the district has made from grade 3 through high school. Performance is above the state level, average in all areas/levels. Dr. Baskerville will also share demographic breakdowns and a 5-year comparative showing great progress in the years following COVID. Strength, Gifted, and Talented was also presented by Dr. Baskerville, Becky Dayton, and Ms. Gerardo Morian. The district is working with the Middlesex Consortium for Gifted and Talented on identifying students who meet certain academic criteria and finding ways for multi-language learners and special education students to be a part of Gifted and Talented programs. Honors and enrichment programs have begun in 4th and 5th grade. Selection process is underway in the 3rd grade. The COGAT assessment will be used in grades 3 through 5 and in grade 2 as a pilot. Title I and ESL novels was also presented by Dr. B. The district has purchased books for our K through 5 Title I schools to place into the libraries to promote and assist parental engagement. Dr. Baskerville shared examples of these collaborative readings, books, as well as social emotional learning resources that will be added to all K through 5 libraries. We will also have an ESL history and science books added as well. Science update was done by Mr. Celebree. Middle school science, Dr. Celebree discussed phase 2 of advancing the science curriculum with the purgatory focus, including cultural, relevant, and inclusive science, ambitious science teaching practices, and small group instruction. An assessment focus, including evaluations on thinking, evolves over time, and NJSLA science reflective summative assessment items. Teachers will study the book Ambitious Science Teaching over the next few years. Aerophonics towers and tarantrums. Aerophonic towers, which grow plants by misting the roots, are being installed in grades 4 through 5 classrooms to help students with making connections to climate science, sustainability, and resource consumption, and will tie into the science and engineering curriculum. On November 1, Professional Development Day, teachers will travel to the Spotted Leaf Plant Shop in Somerville to create closed tarantrums. This will help deepen into understanding of the energy flowing and nutrition cycling. Star Lab. The Star Lab, a digital project traveling planetarium, will expand on and reinforce the space science curriculum. Visits are scheduled for all grades pre-K through 8 buildings. SciDaver. Frog dissection in 7th grade science presents ethical concerns for some students. Dr. Celebree showed a SciDaver synthetic frog, which allows students to stimulate dissecting and actively participating in classroom activities without dissecting an actual frog. They are reusable and maintain inclusion. Science of Reading, Miss Albanese. The Science of Reading, SOAR, is a vast interdisciplinary body of science research about reading and issues related to reading and writing. Miss Albanese shared Scarborough's reading rope, which illustrates the complexity of learning to read with many strands woven into skilled reading. These include background knowledge, vocabulary, language structure, vocabulary reading, and more. Dr. Lieberman asked how this connects to curriculum planning. Ms. Albanese said support and intervention complements the work in classrooms. It is a re-education of how reading works. Ms. Albanese shared a resource to review before the committee's next meeting, How the Brain Learns to Read, by professional stylist Dehandi. Deepening your knowledge of science of reading will be the subject of the November 1 professional development for K-8 teachers and administrators. And that concludes curriculum. I have to say, with the curriculum, to witness the frog dissection, cool.
and it wasn't a live frog, but you're able to go in with the suture and make your scalpel cuts across
pull a skin back and pin it to the side and pull out the organs as need be and identify them, and participate without being grossed out and still saying, okay, we got the work done, was incredible. But most importantly, that you can now take another piece and snap it back into place and put it back together and make it whole, and you can start the process all over again.
Yeah, it was pretty cool how he demonstrated
Yeah.
how to use it. It's a good visual on
It
how
was
it
a
works.
very
It was
good
impressive.
visual.
It was
Yeah.
impressive.
I'll miss the formaldehyde smell though.
Yeah.
Well, they still have it. This
It
is
has
just
the
the
formaldehyde?
alternate.
This is the alternate route for
people-
those
for
who were not
ethical
able to
concerns,
participate.
yeah.
You gotta have that formaldehyde.
Right. In
Yeah.
addition to that, to see the growth and the expansion of the growing of food in order to secure your own learning and being able to sustain your own without actually having to go to the grocery store. And the younger grades are also going to have one classroom that has the growth system within them with the misting. I would be curious to see that in person, because you see in the store where they always had the mist come down and you prayed you weren't reaching to grab something when it came down. But this, I think I would want to get missed by. But it was a very good
Yeah,
meeting.
and it's pretty cool sustainability-wise to see these aeroponic,
Yeah.
you know, like in schools and students being actively engaged and how to grow. It's
But
yeah.
this, the excitement on their face that they're actually doing it. This is what
100%.
we did, and look at what we've achieved. That's the important part about it.
It's again being forward thinking.
Yes, always, always. Fiscal planning and operations.
Fiscal Plannings and Operations Committee met on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024 to discuss the 2023-2024 audit, the 2025-2026 budget calendar, facility capital projects, and more. On the 2023-2024 audit, the year-end field work was finished in September. District administration and auditors are working on the annual comprehensive financial report, the ACFR, which will be filed before the deadline of January 1st, 2025. 2025-2026 budget calendar. The committee approved the budget calendar, which will be on the October 10th board meeting agenda for approval tonight. Kitchen equipment installation. The district received 3 bids and is recommending the award of a contract to K&D Contractors on the October 12th board meeting agenda. Construction is expected to be completed by January 1st, 2025. Facility capital projects, heating, ventilation, air conditioning upgrades. The contractor is disputing their responsibility for several incomplete components. District administration will be working with the architect and board attorney to prepare a formal response. The Piscataway High School dust collection. The dust district received 2 bids and is recommending the award of a contract to Faros Enterprise on the October 10th board meeting agenda. Work is estimated to be finished by April 30th, 2025. The High School Media Center. The district had a design development meeting with Spiesel Architects to review design concepts and answer questions about the district's needs. A follow-up meeting is scheduled for October 17th. Acoustical upgrades. Administration met with Spiesel in the high school Anthony Gym and reviewed acoustical panel options. Bidding is to begin on November 8th, and we can finally get rid of the dents from the baseball team for many years in that gym. Anyway. Energy savings improvement program update. Maintenance HVAC staff continues to work with Siemens Honeywell on the remaining projects. Closeout should be completed by December 31st. Solar panels. The district contracted with Talva Energy to complete a solar evaluation at the high school. Food service updates. Universal free breakfast. Mr. Oliveira noted the positive response from students and what appears to be a noticeable increase in breakfast is served. School meals and summer EBT applications. This is the new name for the free and reduced lunch program. The state requires that all families must either complete an application or actively decline the application. Appears to have a positive impact on identifying eligible families. It appears the district's free and reduced percentage will increase from 36% to at least 40%. The Ad Hoc Committee on Food Service Debt. Dr. Connors summarized the discussion from the committee's first meeting. Mr. Oliveira noted that the district eliminated the inactive negative balances as of June 30th using general fund revenue. Piscataway High School student YAC meeting. Mr. Oliveira reported on the positive feedback received about the food service program at the first Youth Advisory Committee meeting. New Jersey School Business Legislative Update. Dr. Connors discussed several bills, including the New Jersey School Board Association School Board Notes. Mr. Oliver updated the committee on the governor's conditional veto of a bill regarding school bus driver's licenses and the legislature's quick response to approve the amended bill. The revised bill should provide some additional flexibilities for school districts. This is the one where the governor actually vetoed it and then was something, and then he came back and approved it. Business office update, investment account. The committee reviewed the current balance on the September New Jersey adjustable rate something, it's called NJARM, statement and current interest rates. All funds remain in the joint account because it is currently yielding more than the long-term investment options. Policy 6700 investments. The policy committee approved the changes recommended by Mr. Olivera, and the policy will be on the October 10th board meeting agenda in first reading. And this one was actually, I really want to give the businessman very clever, because the 16 million that we're investing didn't include 25% of the 16 million as a fund going forward, and so there's a potential to invest more money and then have a 5% return on it. So it could mean additional over this like a couple $100,000, which is was a very good idea, and then the policy committee approved it. And that's my report, Madam
Thank you,
President.
Dr. Connors. Courtney, you're Nancy tonight, so I guess you're up next.
Correct. Culture Climate?
Yes.
Culture, Climate, and Community Relations Committee met on Tuesday, September 24, 2024 to discuss positive messaging, community partnership, and wellness services. Positive messaging. Mr. Miller shared a slideshow of the monthly themes, quotes, and marquee images for May through September 2024. The committee acknowledged upcoming marquee images and quotes for October, which will include Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Diwali, and Hindu Heritage Month. Following discussions from last year, images and weekly quotes are now being shared on social media as well as school marquees. Community partnerships. Dr. Gray shared information about various community partnerships. Rutgers, National Society of Black Engineers Junior, and Project Health Links, which will be starting in the coming month. Ms. Cherry expressed interest in seeing the students in action at one of the Health Link trips. Efforts are being made to restart our partnership with Rutgers Business School. Junior Achievement. The district's partnership with Junior Achievement will increase for this school year, including financial literacy, curriculum, and resources in middle school and high school. Middle school and high school career trips, high school heroes program at King and Arbor schools. Jersey Cares. The district's partnership with Jersey Cares started the year with a virtual Hispanic Heritage Month activity for 2 of our high school classes. Wellness services. The Haven has begun meeting with students. Counselors spoke to all freshman seminar classes to explain the services they offer at Piscataway High School. The Haven is planning a family night for January and will be leading parent webinars from winter through the spring. The committee discussed possible parent webinar topics such as peer pressure, building resilience, and ways parents can learn about language terminology. A recommendation was made to bring back the parent presentation hosted by the Piscataway Alliance on vaping and ways to help parents identify such behaviors in their children. New business. A discussion took place about the possibility of exploring how effectively we communicate with families. We will continue the conversation at our next meeting. Members were encouraged to attend at least one school event prior to the next meeting. The committee also discussed the possibility of members attending an event together as a demonstration of community.
Thank you, Mr. King. Policy and Legislative, Ms. Smith.
The Policy and Legislative Committee met on October the 1st, 2024 to discuss policy updates, campaigning at school functions, and cell phone use at school. The committee approved proposed updates to Policy 6700, investments, Policy and Regulation 7510, school facilities, and Regulation 5200, attendance, to be placed on the board agenda for approval. The committee discussed strategies for addressing students' cell phone use at school. The committee members agreed that the cell phones are a distraction during classroom time and an impediment to students' socialization outside of class. The committee asked Mr. Rubin to consult with the administration about what ground rules are in place and any operational concerns the committee should consider in developing a policy. And that concludes my report.
Next, we have approval of minutes. Anika? Page 2.
Oh, thank you. Be it resolved that the following minutes be approved as submitted. Business meeting, executive session, business meeting, September 12th, 2024, executive session, September 12th, 2024.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Public comments from the special meeting.
Special
My bad.
meeting, September 23rd, 2024.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's approved as well. Public comments from the floor. I'm looking around, no one, okay, can I have a motion to
So
open?
moved.
Second.
Second.
Have a motion to close?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, public comments, now open and close. Fiscal planning and operations, Dr. Connors?
Be resolved, following motions identified as items A through O be approved as presented.
Second.
Can I just have a comment, or a question, I should just say. David, I was looking at the bids. The one under A, under F, for the high school, the kitchen.
Yep.
So I see we went with the lowest bid, but there's such a huge discrepancy between the two. It always makes me question that everything is included, sometimes they try to backdoor you and charge you more on another end.
So it's a fixed price contract, there's an allowance in there. We're pretty diligent. If for change orders, it's only if it's something that wasn't clear in the specs. Now, as it relates to this particular vendor, I did speak to the architect, and I believe that for one or two of the subs, they actually have that in-house.
I see.
So the other two vendors literally had to go and
just-
contract with another subcontractor, and then they have to mark that up, et cetera. So
That makes sense.
that, I think, is part of the explanation.
I just saw that then the Pharaohs is one that then won the bid for the next one. That's what made me question the first bid to make sure that it was, because like I said, a huge discrepancy, but that makes sense, that there's
Yep.
a less step.
And we were glad that he came in on the second one because he was nearly 300,000 cheaper than
Yeah,
the next guy.
to me, it's huge.
So.
And then if you could, we're still here. Can you just, the renewable energy certificates that we're selling.
Yep.
Can you just briefly
I asked the same question.
explain
Sure.
what that means?
So the district put its first solar panels on our buildings back in 2008, 2009. We added some in 2012, 2013, and we own those panels. So the panels that are up there generate electricity, helps us to keep our electricity bills lower, but in addition to that, the amount of electricity that they generate gets
Generate more
logged.
than we need, or more than we're allowed to use?
Usually not, but either way, as an incentive to get districts, or not districts, entities in the state to put solar panels on, the state has a program where they generate what is called these credits, solar renewable energy credits. And there are actually obligations for public utilities to generate a certain amount of their electricity from renewable sources. The utilities don't have enough infrastructure in place to do that.
So they
So
buy
they
these
buy
certificates.
credits from private or public entity that has put solar panels up. So there's an open market for these things. At the time that the panels were put in, I don't know if it was the first or the second batch, but I mean, the credits got as high as $600, $650 a credit. The market fell significantly since then, but we've been getting we've been selling, each year we sell some credits, and we've been getting in the $200 to $230 range per credit. So these are credits from energy year 2021. So the panels, we have to log how much electricity they generate. You input that into a system, and it generates how much how many SRECs you get, and then we go out for like a public auction and sell them.
Interesting. All right,
That's
thank you.
called the generation attribute tracking system,
Yeah, so
the
that's what
GATS
you put in to
system.
check how
There's
many.
That's how
nothing
you-
physically sold, it's just meeting
That's how
their
Yes,
Yes, yeah,
obligation.
yeah, sure, that's interesting. Okay, I was just like trying to make sense
You know,
of
we,
it.
when we tried to do a solar referendum in 2010 and it didn't get approved 10 years ago, there was a selling point that we're gonna get like $600 for SREG and blah, 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 and then things just didn't, luckily it didn't pass. Because then it kind of crashed after
And
that.
just to clarify, so the ESIP we did, we put a lot more solar panels on, but we don't own those. So those, through a power purchase agreement, a private company owns them.
And then
They use our
we use
buildings,
them,
they
and
get the
their
credits. Now,
And we get
the state has changed the program, and so they're no longer called SRECs, now they're called TRECs. They're not as valuable. I think those are a fixed price. The SRECs is a bit of an open market, the TRECs is a fixed price of $152 a
It's a
credit.
dinosaur, T-Rex is a
So-
dinosaur.
The companies, when they bid on putting the solar panels on our buildings, factored all that in, they knew how much they would make, they calculated how much savings we would get, and that helped to finance the ESIP project, in which we did LED lighting, we put rooftop units on so many different buildings. But we don't own those solar
Understood.
panels.
Thank you for making it clear to, layman.
I have a question.
Sure.
On number M, who are the participating in New Jersey Stride?
I'll let
So
Frank take
there
that one.
are districts and entities in New Jersey who help find highly functioning educators, particularly one of color, minorities, things like that. So we're going to join that consortium to try to get in that loop of districts that they promote to newly certificated or veteran educators to come and interview with us, and some like job fairs and things like that. But they also, outside the job fair, will recommend and promote Piscataway as well once we join the
So their
consortium.
availability and resumes are sort of circulated and
Yes.
everybody knows that this is an
Correct.
available resource?
And that we support NJ Stride, and we're part of the consortium, and, we promote highly efficient educators.
What districts are involved?
I'm not sure. Colleen,
West Windsor,
Colleen,
Plainsboro is one of them.
do you know other districts that are involved in NJ Stride?
West Windsor.
Off the top of my
Yeah.
head, there's definitely, West Windsor,
Right.
Broadway, there's a whole list. of
Okay.
them.
They're not all Middlesex,
They're
though.
all-
No,
No,
not
they're
all
not.
Middlesex. No, it's all over the state.
Yes.
Because I went to one of their classes at, last year at school board convention, and that's where I actually saw them for the first time and what they offered. So it was I learned a lot
Yeah.
being in their room
Sounds
that
like
day.
a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a motion, did this get approved?
Well, I read it and then,
We have
I
a
think I
second.
We have a
So-
motion. Oh, we had the
and there was
second, all right.
If there's no more
discussion.
discussion, we can vote.
Okay, we need to take the vote. Mr. Secretary, can you take the roll?
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Sheed?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes?
Ms. Stafford? Mrs. Corodino?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
Policy, Ms. Smith?
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A through C be approved as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Secretary, can you take the roll?
Mr. Sheed?
On item A, yes to all except policy 9700. On item B, yes to all.
That was just all on B and C as well?
Yes to A except 9700, and then B, yes to all.
And C?
And C?
And C,
Okay.
yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes?
Ms. Stafford?
Yes to all except policy 9700 on item A. On item B and C, yes to all.
Mrs. Corodino?
Yes.
Mr. King?
No to policy 9700, special interest on item A, yes to B and C.
And yes to the other policies on A?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
On item A, yes to all the policies except policy 9700, and item B, yes to all.
And C?
Yes.
C?
That was yes to C.
Yes.
And Ms. Cherry?
Yes to A, abstaining from 9700, yes to all of B and C.
Motions carry except for policy 9700.
Curriculum, Mr. King.
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as items A and B be approved as presented.
Second. Mr. Secretary, can you take the roll?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordino?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid? Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
Pupil services?
I'm sorry. Yes. Be resolved that the following motions identified as A through C be approved as presented.
Second. Mr. Secretary, can you take the roll?
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordino?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
Administration and auxiliary, Ms. Stratford.
Be it resolved that the following motions identified as A through E be approved as presented.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, can you take the roll?
Ms. Stafford?
Yes.
Mrs. Cordino?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Rashid? Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Connors?
Yes.
Ms. Cherry?
Yes.
Motion's carry.
Old business, Dr. Rinelli has something for old business.
Yeah, last month at our board meeting in September, I mentioned that the PHS experience was going to move to October to benefit a more timely delivery of that information. That date wouldn't work, so we had a meeting today, and we'll have continual meetings with the high school administration as well as some central office people to really talk about the delivery of that information, the timeliness of it in January for everybody, and see about delivering it at kind of more focused point and a more timely way. So stay tuned. I just wanted to make sure that everybody kind of understood before our next meeting. It was supposed to happen October 23rd, but that's not going to happen. We'll get out all the information about the what we're going to do to satisfy really getting the pertinent information to the families from the 8th graders going to high school.
Could you explain that again, please?
Sure. So we had something called a PHS experience in January for all 8th graders and their families.
Okay.
And at that point, the families would come with their children, with their 8th graders, and they would sit in the auditorium and hear, deliveries and presentations from different departments, math, science, social studies, gym, things like that, as well as they would talk about clubs and activities that are offered, athletics that are offered, things like that. That happened since before I came here, so that's at least 11 years old. And the timeliness of it kind of morphed into not being appropriate in January. A lot of the times back then, the applications to other districts were due in January, February. Now they're due in November, right? So as of right now, we have a presentation for academy, potential academy families, parents, and kids in October. That's going to happen next week, I believe. Okay, so that takes care of that when the student is considering leaving the district. And all the other things, January, we think is too early, right, for September, right? So we're trying to figure out at what point in the year do students and their families need to hear about different things,
Right.
right? Course selection.
You don't have a month yet? You think?
No, not yet, because we think we're going to do multiple presentations for different things.
Okay.
Some on Zoom and some not.
Okay.
Course advisement about what grades, what 8th graders might take for classes the following year. That maybe should happen in February because their counselors start talking to them in March, things like that. Athletics, that might happen in April because their physicals are due in June, things like that. So we're kind of planning on all that and making sure that we do the best thing for the parents and the kids.
So what I'm hearing you say is that students coming out of middle school and their parents, they have the choice to leave the Piscataway Public School System and go some other place.
Every district.
In every district. And so you're trying to time it so that we can tell them about the Piscataway High School experience, so they have that knowledge in with all the other knowledge.
So that's part of it, right? If
That's part of
students
it.
who are considering leaving or going to vocational schools or things like that,
Okay.
that information really needs to be to them by, what Piscataway High School offers needs to be
Right.
to them by October,
Yeah,
this month. Because they really need to make
Right,
applications and
right.
decisions by November, December to be accepted to these schools.
and we've been always holding out till
Right.
January.
No, we have done an academy night in
Yeah, okay.
October for the past few years, right? But aside from that, all the other information was delivered in January for a September start. And then we had a parent orientation back in the summer, again in the summer, where we showed almost the same slides. You know, so it was kind of redundant, so we're kind of rethinking the January PHS experience. Just because it's always happened that way doesn't mean it's the right thing for 2024-25. So we're talking about the best way to go.
Mhm.
Right. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wells. Anyone else with old business?
Madam President, just two things. The first is that under old business, you know, that we're very close to finishing our New Jersey School Board's board certification, and the last one piece is this board self-evaluation, and I have put out the link to people to do that evaluation, and 7 out of the 9 board members have filled out the evaluation. I have a email into our New Jersey School Board's field representative that if that is enough, then we can schedule a review of the board self-evaluation, and then do a couple items, and then so what we're shooting for. So if you haven't done it, the couple of people that haven't done it, there's still time to do it. And then that ties into probably our December meeting being presented with our board certification, which would be in that line over there. Well, 2016, I think, we tried to do it every about 4 years. So there's that. And then the second thing is that I just give a brief update on the ad hoc committee on school meal debt. We formed this committee last March, but we finally got around to meeting last month, and then we had a meeting today. And thank everybody, the committee. You know, our mission was to review and discuss the next steps on the issue of, you know, food service debt. And, you know, this issue, you know, needs more of a focused attention because it was always being handled in the fiscal, fiscal plannings and operations committee, and it would take up a big portion of that. But I'm happy to report that after the first meeting, the committee reviewed active and inactive debt balances, and then the committee unanimously agreed to eliminate the school meal debt balances for the inactive, and now our district staff is reviewing a mealtime email to send to families, and we're also looking at there's some students that have graduated and parents that have positive mealtime accounts, and how can we have a method where that can actually be they would donate that money back, and so David Oliver prepared a letter, and the committee reviewed it, and we're going to review the final letter probably at our next meeting, which will be, we've been holding them right before these business meetings, so probably in November. And then and just brainstorming and other ideas of how to communicate with our families about mealtime, so that we don't find ourselves in the situation, you know, subsequently going down the road. So you know, thanks Nancy, you know, Chantel, myself, Sarah, David Olvera, and Dr. Ranelli for, you know, taking a deeper dive and really looking at the data and trying to come up with, you know, a way forward. Because, you know, it's going to be there, and it's something that we're not the only district dealing with it. So that's it. That was my on the ad hoc committee. Take over. What? Take over. Uh-oh.
No, you're good. You just
Oh,
sit
okay.
there.
I
You got
guess
two
it-
things left.
Okay. That's anybody for our other old business?
No.
Okay, well, I'll be brief on new business, because I have to do an ad here, is that, as you know, I am one of the state officers for New Jersey School Boards, and workshops coming up like the week from October 23rd to the 27th, so Monday through Thursday. So everybody get ready. It's always a great week. And what's exciting for me is I got to be in a meeting where one of our keynote speakers is John Quinones of ABC News, who does What Would You Do program. But he's told us that, advertised that still watch it, because actually where it's scheduled, it's right after Dancing with the Stars, so his ratings go down, so we got it, so anyway, he's gonna be one of the keynote speakers, and it's gonna be a great week. The legislative, Chantel and I actually sit on the legislative committee of the New Jersey School Boards Association, representing District 17, and it's advocacy, and we had a great meeting this past Saturday, where we had the deputy majority leader of the legislature, Roy Fryman, who is working on school funding reform in terms of a bill that would, when we had our budget presentation, that one of the suggestions by the New Jersey Association of School Business Officials was to do a 5-year average in part of that formula to help out. That's what that bill is about. So he's, there's a good group, and it's always a big issue for everybody, but at least we know they're doing something about it, and hopefully that'll keep going. There was a board of directors meeting, and the takeaways there is that there was a bunch, but dues collection was good, so they're very healthy in terms of the finance and New Jersey school boards, and workshop always brings in a lot of money, and what else was there? There was the board certification. We're in a small group, like across the state. Just this particular fall, there's only like 8 other school boards that have done board certification. Nice. So it speaks volumes to everybody here, to your commitment, that this is what you really need to do, is to keep going on the topics, and the better local governance you have, the research shows that the higher the student achievement, and that's proven, year on year in research. So thank you for your commitment to be on the board and just train and get ourselves trained. And that's it.
I have new business. I'm sorry. Before we get ready to go, I just felt, as we talked about policy 9700, and many people voted no, because we did talk vigorously about this at the policy, that I just kind of wanted to highlight the point on why I thought it was an important policy to move forward. The part that talks about distributing political literature to the students or on school grounds that promotes, favors, or opposes any candidacy and any candidate for election at any school election, or the adoption of any bond issue, proposal, or public question submitted at a general, municipal, or school election. So I just thought, as a parent, as an educator who works in a school, that this was important policy, because I think that that's not something that we want on school grounds or to our children. So I just kind of wanted to state why I was in favor of that. And why I don't, people voted against it, but I did want it to sort of, everyone to see what the policy was. So that's it.
May I?
Sarah.
So in my opinion, when I read the policy, I didn't feel it was wholesome enough for the district. I felt that it was more infringing on the freedoms that are provided by the election laws. And that's why I felt that the policy was not okay.
Well, on days of election, right, there are laws, but there's no election laws where you should be campaigning on school property where there's a captive audience of students, a captive audience of parents. It's just in bad taste. And again, for me as an educator, I don't like seeing it where I work. It just doesn't have a very good feeling to send. It's sort of like having people who are held and it's in your face and they can't get away from it. So it's my opinion, and it's obviously people have different opinions, and that's certainly okay. But I just wanted to know where I came from and why I felt like it was important. That's it.
Any other further new business?
But I understand.
I do, Tom. So I want to just talk for a couple minutes about the food service program. So we're 6 weeks into the school year, and I have some preliminary information on particularly the breakfast program. It's too soon. I don't have financial information, and frankly, I really wouldn't want to discuss financial information after 1 month anyway, because I don't think it's indicative of much. But, I mean, I can tell you that the breakfast numbers are up through the roof. Compared September this year to last year, it's up 162%.
Wow.
So last year we served 11,664 breakfasts. This year, 31,886. Okay, so that's an increase of nearly 20,000 breakfasts served in probably, 20 calendar school days in the month of September. Lunch is also up. Lunch is up from 47,222 to 61,097, so that's a 29% increase. And you know, that's not free. We didn't change anything about the lunch program. As a matter of fact, we actually increased the prices, as the board recalls. It was time. At that point, it had been about 10 years. So
We didn't change anything except the company, right? So.
yeah. So as far as the breakfast goes, I think it's fantastic, free breakfast for all, and our goal was merely just to break even, and we'll monitor that over the course of the year. But, you know, I think the lunch figure does show that a change in company does seem to be well received by the students so far. And I can tell you that anecdotally, I was in a meeting with 4 of our principals on a completely unrelated topic, and with no prompting in any way, they shared feedback with me of how happy they were, and the students, the feedback they were getting from students. And that was in addition to, it was noted in the committee report about the student YAC meeting up at the high school that we attended, and we got some positive feedback there. So, you know, a good month for the food service program, and the board has backed a lot of investments in equipment, serving lines. And in addition, the board was a part of the committee that chose the new company, and so far we're off to a good start. So I just wanted to give you an update.
What I can say is that, you know, that what I'm hearing from the school community is that this is fantastic that Piscataway found a way to give free breakfast. And the fact that people realize that, you know, we have like a 36% free and reduced lunch population, which did include breakfast, but now the way in which it's designed that everybody gets breakfast, those kids weren't going because they possibly could be shamed, but now everybody gets it for free, so you don't know who those kids are. And it's an issue that people feel strongly about. They even try to get their kids to school early so they can get that free meal, and it's a very, very positive thing that we've done for our community, and I hope that we can find ways to do these kinds of things. The only things that I've heard are that it's before the bell.
Oh.
So what happens is when they get to get there, it's before they get to their classroom. Say at the high school, their bus may arrive, they may only have 10 or 15 minutes. So it's very hard. They get it, but you know, we have these restrictions on taking it out of the cafeteria and walking it to the classroom, so that was something they said, you know, the feedback that I got. But in general, it's a great program, and you know, we need to focus on as board members and the administration on the issues and the needs and the concerns of our community, and that's one of them, and thank you. And that's any more new business?
Courtney?
Courtney's saying like they fired the Jets coach. Who are they gonna fire? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I thought you were gonna go home to your family tonight, didn't you?
Don't wanna go home, Tom?